was this show on VH1 called When Blank Ruled the World. It was a short-lived show. Nobody probably even knows it. It wasn't that popular. But I remember two specific episodes because it was things that I liked. One was when soap operas ruled the world in the 80s. They were popular as hell. The other one was pro wrestling ruled the world in the late 90s. It was popular as hell. They were both so popular in pop culture, and I feel like for this moment in time, Taylor Hale is very popular in pop culture, has been all season. For the first time in a very long time, someone from a CBS reality show, Big Brother and Survivor, a player, is this mainstream in pop culture. Good for Taylor. She deserves it. Because I genuinely feel like it's getting lost just how terrible these first 2 weeks were for Taylor. And we'll get to that in a while. But let's first talk about her epic night last night. I talked about it a little bit and how social game is the way to go in a social game more times than not. Now, of course, there's other ways to win this game, but a strong social game will take you further than anything else, more consistently, in my opinion. And Taylor had a great social game this entire season. I'm sure there's some game bots out there who need some WD-40 because of all the tears they've been crying about this season. Same goes for Kyle stans, who I'm sure are very upset, but at least you got your boy in the top 3, America's favorite player. Taylor's jury management and her final 2 performance was epic, and an underdog story is very popular for a reason. Who doesn't root for the underdog when the opportunity presents itself? It's hard to not root for the underdog, at least for me. I'm always rooting for underdogs. Even some of my favorite sports teams are underdogs, the Chicago Cubs for one. That speech last night was like ridiculously good, and it was moving, and it really, somewhat humanized this awful cast that we had to deal with this entire season because of the jury having to hear all of it. And it was just very moving stuff from Taylor, and I'm glad we get to see Big Brother as the social game that it is. Not everyone is a game bot who cares about winning competitions, especially. And this season there was hardly any real strategic game bots. Not a lot of strategy this season, as I've said the whole season. But there was no doubt in my mind yesterday morning when I recorded the first video of the day yesterday that if Taylor got to the final 2 and was able to present her story, and it was just going to wreck anything Monty had to say, and Monty didn't have anything good to say with his the answers to his questions. Speaking of Monty, Taylor said there's going to be nothing with Monty outside of this house. That's going to stay inside of the house. Taylor basically did friend zone him yesterday at the finale, as it was, which I think is great for Taylor. I mean, it's also another thing I called just 2 weeks ago, saying that this was nothing but sex for Taylor. And she had a sexual attraction, and that is what we have to chalk it up to. And I really do think Monty caught some feelings there. That's why he was reacting in his insecure way about the fucking headphones for 2 friggin' days straight. I mean, it's one thing to be upset about it, but to be upset about it for 2 days was such baby shit. So I could understand why Taylor wants nothing to really do with him on a relationship level outside of the house. For Monty, I'm sure this is going to make Monty even more bitter towards women and relationships than he already is. His ego needed to take the hit, though, and it took a lot of hits over the past 24 hours between losing the game and Taylor friend-zoning him and kicking him to the curb. But yeah, that was pretty easy to call, I thought. Maybe I was wrong about, I was not wrong calling the jailer stands cuckoo. Y'all are cuckoo the way you act on social media. But, they've been teasing shit outside of the game. I mean, I'm still not convinced it's going to actually ever be anything more than a friendship. But it could develop into more. It's going to take some time, I think, realistically, if they really do want to connect on the outside. Why not? But I think it's going to take some time to see if they're really interested or if it was really just, a friendship or for the show on Joseph's side. I mean, Joseph seems like a mostly real dude to me. I think he came across authentic as a person. So I don't know if he was faking feelings, but Joseph had a little bit of talks outside of the show over the past 24 hours, and a little bit of interview questions were thrown Joseph's way, and nobody wants to actually question him about the woman outside of the house that he talked about in the house and why he wasn't actually pursuing Taylor in the house. Nobody's asking him questions about her, and that could still be a situation. So I just don't want jailer stands to get in their little cuckoo nest in their head and go too crazy about it. We also had Amira who was who asked that question. Amira, calling out Monty and Taylor about their showmance in front of Joseph, who's on the jury at that point in time. That's when we got the little puppy dog sad faces from Joseph. Amira saying that the show made her say that and ask the question, which I believe. I know Ricard from Survivor got on Twitter and said, I'm under CBS contract too, and I guarantee CBS didn't make her say that. I don't believe Ricard. It's also two different shows, and Big Brother, the production team, is always heavily involved in the show, and show is Survivor, but I think Big Brother takes it to next level ridiculousness with how much production interferes with the show and the game. Taylor being the first black woman to win Big Brother is a huge milestone for the show. It's honestly sad that it's taken this long, however. I think any non-fan of Big Brother looking at this and looking that it took 22 years and 23 seasons for the first black winner in Xavier, and then it took another year for the first black woman to win the show, it speaks to how bad this show's problems were. And I still find that it is a joke that this all-white production team thinks that this show never had a problem in the first place, which is what they have always thought. Check fucking Grodner's interview at the beginning of season 23, how the show never actually had a problem with diversity. Okay. Which will eventually bring me to my two negative things that I have to talk about here in a while. But I want to say Taylor, she was on The Talk today. She's making her rounds in interviews. I'm glad she's getting all of the positive press that she deserves. Being the first to win and be America's favorite player. She got all that she deserved and more for having to put up with the two first weeks of this game where she was ostracized for nothing more than racism. And something's getting lost in the sauce here. And some people are calling this a great season or the best season. I've already stated my case on my feelings to this season overall. It will never make any top 10 list of mine if I ever do a rankings. But, and a big reason for that is what I think is getting lost in the sauce here is, while this was a step in the right direction for the show on some level, the big white alliance of Kyle's getting outed helps maybe change some dynamics going forward. I think two black winners in a row back to back might not change too much of those dynamics. However, for future white players, especially with the way this show casts, but I hate that still, just like in real life, and of course the game is going to mirror real life, but black women are more than just having to be strong. And I think that's getting lost in the sauce here, because we saw that every time Taylor was down in this game, the white fans, even on Facebook, loved Taylor at the beginning when they saw her as a victim. And Taylor's speech saying she isn't a victim, she's a victor was great touch in her speech. But anytime we've seen Taylor make progress in the game, we see how a big chunk of the white fan base, and especially on Facebook very upset with this win, they turned on her. It's like they want black women to have to be the victim, to have all the hardship, to have this big giant struggle. It's what keeps me from calling this a good season, because it still was too much of a trope for me. The way that it's the way that the fans reacted to it, really, that eventually got gross for me. But I mean, it is Facebook. It's what's going to happen on Facebook, I guess. And I think the biggest problem is that all of this will get swept under the rug just because Taylor ended up winning in the end. It's like, yeah, you had to go through all these hardships, and you had to get belittled, and you had to get shunned, all because of racism. But hey, you won. The production, and CBS will take this as, hey, all's well that ends well. We don't have to make any real changes to this show yet again. That's what CBS and production will think. They will let production slide by yet again, I'm sure. Because nobody in the media ever wants to hold CBS's feet to the fire. But in the end, it was a monumental win for Taylor Hale. And I do feel like for this moment in time, Taylor rules the world. I'm hoping to see her on The Bold and the Beautiful. Maybe it will be Taylor and Joseph. According to some CBS love Taylor and Joseph, maybe they'll be on The Amazing Race. I'll still never watch The Amazing Race. But I'm just glad that Taylor gets to have this moment. You know, reality stars that get big, the star eventually fades because, I mean in the sense that reality stars' relevance tends to deteriorate unless you made a sex tape, I guess. Then you may not deteriorate. But Kim Kardashian was famous for the sex tape before she was famous for being on a reality show. But I don't think Taylor's popularity will go away anytime soon. I think Taylor will always be popular. I think she is a very sound individual to be able to handle this popularity. We'll see what more of the Big Brother off season happens here. If I can talk about anything, I will. But for now, we must bid adieu to the season itself and go into the Big Brother off season. But you can watch Little Brother, an online Big Brother game, on this channel. If you get bored and if you're missing Big Brother, Little Brother will be here for you.